So, the Dogmatika deck. We all know what it does, right? Play Ecclesia to search Maximus, send some stuff from the extra deck, and end with a Fleur de Lis in hand for a negate. Oh, and don't forget to normal summon Dogmatika Alistair first. What's that? It's not called that? You could have fooled me. Ever since they were first released, people have played Dogmatikas in a bunch of decks, since it's a very compact yet efficient engine. Sure, they lock you out of summoning from the extra deck, but only going forwards during that turn, so if you just do everything you need to do beforehand, well, it's basically free. However, have you ever tried to play a pure Dogmatika deck? One without something like Alistair or Shaddolls? If you have, you know the sad truth of the matter. They pretty much do the exact same combos when mixed with other archetypes, just without all the extra stuff they bring. Unless you want to load it up with hand traps or going second cards, they're basically just worse off for it. However, that's because nobody really bothers trying to play the ritual side of Dogmatikas. You would be forgiven for not knowing this, but they actually have 2 ritual monsters and 2 ritual spells that focus on what Dogmatika do best, hating on the extra deck. Let me quickly introduce them to you since nobody really plays them. So for the rituals, you have White Knight of Dogmatika and White Relic of Dogmatika. White Knight is your level 8 ritual which, when on the field, stops you from summoning from the extra deck at all. It then has a lot of text for only one effect. When your opponent does anything at all really, you can send a monster of your choice from both players' extra decks to the graveyard, and then gain attack equal to half of their combined attack. So basically you'd use it to remove an important combo piece from their extra deck, while sending something like Entis to destroy something on their field. That's an okay effect, sure, but it gets better with their second ritual monster. White Relic complements White Knight pretty well. It's a level 4 ritual which can add one monster's attack to another's when you summon it, which can help you make White Knight more of a threat, especially since it also makes level 8 or higher Dogmatikas immune to battle destruction. Then if your opponent summons from the extra deck, you can rip another card from it, making you more likely to actually meaningfully prevent their combos. Now the reason I mention their levels is because of one of their ritual spells, Dogmatika Calamity. You see, besides regular ritual stuff, it can also send an extra deck monster as a ritual material. If you've ever played any ritual deck, or even just played against Drytron, you know that there's a particular card that ritual players love sending from their extra deck, Herald of the Arclight. It's a non-once per turn search of any ritual spell or monster, and luckily enough it's a level 4, so White Relic can be summoned by sending it, and can then further search ritual pieces. So what's your reward for getting both of the rituals on the field? Well, if you did it with Dogmatika Macabre, as a bonus, you get to send a card from the extra deck of your choice. So basically, a lot of extra deck destruction on top of some potentially high attack monsters. But is that really enough? Well, not for me. You see, the truth is, while the Dogmatika deck is meant to hate on extra deck monsters, they also work best if there's at least one on the field. Now, if you're going second, that obviously won't be a problem, but then you have to play through a lot of disruption. You ideally want to be able to make a powerful board going first, but still be competent when going second to stand a real chance in the meta. So how do you get an extra deck monster out? Well, that's why most decks play Alistair or Shaddolls, but I set out to build a ritual Dogmatika deck, so throwing in one of the usual archetypes that synergize with them felt a bit cheap. And then I remembered that Emergency Teleport is at 3 now. If you haven't been keeping up with combo theorycraft nonsense, that card is basically a single card Halki Fibrax, which in turn is, well, anything you want it to be, let's be honest. With a tiny 3 monster punk engine, Emergency Teleport becomes an incredibly powerful tool that'll let you summon pretty much any synchro you want, thanks to some funky synchro tuners like Cupid Pitch. Usually people are content with making a Borrelade Savage Dragon, a Baron, and a Herald of the Arclight with that, but that started getting in the way of the actual rituals, and well, we can't really have that in a ritual Dogmatika deck. Check out the full potential of Emergency Teleport if you're into deck building though, since it's pretty wild. So what did I do? Well, I mentioned Cupid Pitch earlier, who has the strange effect of searching any level 8 or lower monster with 600 defense. There are a few good targets like this, like a Resonator Tuner that can summon itself from the hand, but one in particular caught my attention just for how fun it would be to reliably combo into. That card is Destiny Hero Plasma. That's right, Emergency Teleport is now a Behond de Fleur and a Destiny Hero Plasma, made out of a Coral Dragon and a Herald of the Arclight for draws and Ritual Piece searches. It does require a discard, but that's where rituals shine, since you can just summon one from the graveyard anyway. So thanks to this, you'll have a powerful negate, a floodgate stopping monster effects, and most importantly, some extra deck monsters on the field, all of which is before you even do your normal summon. From there on, it's very easy to set up your Dogmatika rituals, since you'll have already set up the ideal conditions for them to combo into each other. And then the cherry on top of the cake is that Plasma, who usually has a fairly weak 1900 attack, gets boosted all the way up to 4900. Good luck outing that in battle without using monster effects. So I know it sounds weird and almost contradictory, but honestly, if you want to run the rituals, this only makes them better rather than taking away from them. You can insist that doing this isn't playing them pure enough for it to count, but honestly, that's one of those "the future is now, old man" type moments. You're doing yourself a disservice by not embracing whatever broken extra deck engine is currently legal. Have a look at the deck and hopefully you'll be able to see for yourself just how much potential these engines have together. So here's the deck. As you'd expect from Dogmatika if you've ever played them with something like Shaddoll or Invoked, they're a fairly compact yet powerful deck, leaving room for other engines as well as some hand traps. I'll go over each little engine in turn, starting with Dogmatika. Also, I know it looks like there's quite a few bricks in the deck, but again, the Dogmatika side of things can work really well with only a few cards in hand, so it really doesn't matter if you draw one or two of the bricks. Only the Mecha Phantom Beast actually stops you from doing full combo if you draw it, so honestly, don't worry about it too much. Anyway, let's start with the Dogmatikas. Run only one Fleur de Lis because she's easily searchable with Titaniclad, but also you'll have Plasma to negate most monster effects anyway, so she's a bit redundant if all goes well. You run 2 Maximus because it's fairly searchable, but also pretty good to draw. Ecclesia, however, is always good to draw, so run 3 of her. You'll want to save her effect for as late as possible though, so that you know if you need to search a ritual piece with her, or if you could instead search Dogmatika Punishment. As for your rituals, 2 of each is fine. Between the tons of searches you'll be getting off the heralds, as well as pre-preparation of rites, you really don't need to run more. Remember that, if possible, you should summon Relic fairly late into the combo to make best use of her attack manipulation. For their spells, run the Dear Servant at the most that's allowed, which right now is 2. Thanks to the heralds, it's basically a double search, so you really do get a ton of use from it. For the ritual spells, run 2 of each. Dogmatika Calamity is pretty good since it can start your combos in a pinch, sending a herald straight from your extra deck to summon a relic, and then searching your other ritual pieces. But again, it's very searchable, so 3 would be kind of overkill. Dogmatika Macabre is at 2 for almost the opposite reasons. While not listing them in the opening lines of the card, it does mention both ritual monsters later on in the card text, which is enough for pre-preparation of rites to work. But since pre-prep doesn't work if you can't add the ritual spell with it, you don't want to draw your only copy of this card and then have basically 3 dead cards in your deck. This also has the advantage of being able to summon your rituals from the graveyard, so it makes them fairly good discard fodder for your punks. Finally, run 3 Punishment. It's hard to overstate how useful this is in the deck, being both a searcher or a double disruption, and by the time you're using it, you'll be done with your extra deck anyway, so it really doesn't matter that you'll be locked out of it. To top it all out, run 3 pre-preps since they're both flexible in what they search and increase your card advantage. So that's the Dogmatika side of the deck, which is already pretty competent by itself. But now we get to the Synchro engine, which is where it really starts to get spicy. So to start off, there's a small punk engine of 3 Xiamen, 1 Madame Spider, 1 Foxy Tune, and 1 Dangerous Gabu. Xiamen does the full combo by itself, so we run it at 3, especially since there isn't really a better use for your normal summon anyway. Foxy Tune summons Spider, you can search Gabu, which is just an extra negate for basically free. To supplement this engine, run 3 Emergency Teleport. This card being back at 3 is actually kind of ridiculous, so use it while you still can. It lets you do the entire Halki 5 axe line off of 1 card, But if you have spares, you could use them to summon Ghost Ogre if you want, since for some reason it also works on the field. Then the health machines are Despot and Coltwing. While Despot is fine to draw, Coltwing is actually the worst thing to draw in this deck, so let's hope that doesn't happen, I guess. Then there's Plasma, which is something you can search off of Cupid Pitch, which is a normal and fine interaction. It's a pretty good floodgate by itself, but then you have Relic boosting its attack to stupidly high levels and it gets way better. Finally, there is still room for a few hand traps, so I run 3 Ash Blossom and 3 Ghost Ogre. Like I said, Ghost Ogre is an E-Telly target, but it also helps counter the Adventurer token package in other decks. If you want though, just run a Called by the Grave and some Cross-Out Designators to help protect your combo. Now for the extra deck, it's basically in 2 halves. Cards that are only here to dump straight into your graveyard, and cards that are part of your main combo. You'll get to see that combo soon, so I won't dwell on it for too long. For your graveyard targets, run 2 Titaniclad for the search, but also because it's a level 8 and so it can be used as a ritual material straight from the extra deck. Skull Knight is sort of similar to Entis in that it gives you a destruction, but it's a good one to send when going first rather than second, because you'll have a destruction basically stored for later turns. Entis is going to be sent from both Punishment and White Knight, so you'll want 3. Same as Herald, you'll actually go through all 3 of them pretty easily in one turn. Because of that, you can send Amiga to recycle some of them, while also making sure you don't run out of extra deck monsters to send. The rest of these cards are all made as part of your combo. Baron is the main thing you want to end on for the protection of an Omni Negate, while Coral Dragon is just a free draw. Cupid Pitch offers a lot of options in case something goes wrong with your combo, and it searches your Plasma. As for these 2, we've all seen those combos. This is a good time to mention that, as part of the E-Telly combo, you could be ending on Baron, Borreload Savage Dragon, and Herald of the Arclight instead of Baron and Plasma. But you'll soon see that this version of the combo is actually better for the ritual side since you'll be getting the draws and the searches, and the other one just doesn't really leave you with enough room on board to actually use the rituals. You can try it out if you want by replacing something with a Borreload Savage Dragon, but since I set out to make this a Dogmatika deck, I didn't want to do anything that would actually interfere with them working properly. Other than that, feel free to adjust your ratios a bit, especially with targets to send from your extra deck. Stardust Charge Warrior could also replace Coral Dragon if you want to draw immediately instead of when she goes to the graveyard. But overall, that's the deck. But honestly, it's nothing until you see it in action. So now let's get to the combos. So now I'll go over some basic combos before showing you a few test hands. But first, if you've been enjoying the video so far, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. So just to start off, let me show you the absolute most basic combo you can do. I'll be sticking just to the ritual side of things for this replay so it won't get too far out of hand. The least you can realistically get away with is a way to send something from the extra deck to the graveyard, so realistically, Nadir Servant if going first, or Maximus if you're going second. And then you basically just need any part of the ritual engine, so here I went with Dogmatika Calamity. Start with Nadir Servant to send a Herald. That will get you a double search, so we can get both ritual monsters here. Calamity can then send a Herald to summon Relic, and since it isn't a hard once per turn, you get another search, so we grab the second ritual spell. In a hand that doesn't only have 2 cards in it, you'd try to make sure you have anything else on the board so that Relic can either boost its own attack or the other monsters. Dogmatika Macabre can now banish both Heralds to summon a White Knight, and since you control both Dogmatika rituals, you can send a monster from either extra deck to the graveyard. Since we want to extend a bit further, we send from our own extra deck to send a Titaniclad. In the end phase, we can summon an Ecclesia, who in this case can search a Fleur de Lis for an extra negate. On top of that negate, when your opponent summons from their extra deck, you can rip a card of your choice from it, so hopefully ruining their combos, and when they activate any effect at all, White Knight can send a card from both extra decks, disrupting their combo further, as well as probably destroying something thanks to Entis. It will then gain a lot of attack, and don't forget, Relic makes it indestructible by battle as well. So that was a fairly weak combo, but one that you should almost always be able to pull off, even through some disruption, and will usually be stronger thanks to the rest of your hand. However, if you draw something like Emergency Teleport, or a Xiamen and an Extender, and then a ritual monster or a way to get to one, you can do full combo with basically just that. Start with E-Telly to get a Xiamen on the field. Pay 600 to search a Foxy Tune, who can then discard both herself and your ritual monster for a Madame Spider. Macabre can summon rituals from the graveyard, so that's why this is important for doing it with the least cards possible. Madame Spider pays another 600 to search a dangerous Gabu, and then you can just go into Halki Fibrax. Summon Despot with it, and then go into Auroradon for 3 tokens while getting back your Deskbot. Use a token to make a Cupid pitch, choosing to lower her level. You can now use Auroradon's second effect, attributing 2 tokens in order to get a Cultwing from the deck. That will get you 2 more tokens, as well as getting Despot back again. Cupid Pitch can now use a token to make a Coral Dragon, which will trigger her in order to burn for 600 and search Destiny Hero Plasma. Now if you wanted to just go for the most negates possible, this is where it starts to deviate from usual, but you can just find any other combo on YouTube for that version. Anyway, at this point, if you're going second, you can also discard something with Coral Dragon to destroy something on the field. Make a Herald out of Despot and the last token, and then you can Synchro summon both of the Synchros into a Baron, which will trigger both Herald and Coral Dragon. If you make Herald chaining 1, you can chain block the more important search with Coral Dragon's Draw. I draw an Ecclesia and search a Calamity. If you don't have Ecclesia at this point, Nadir Servant and Maximus can also work. Since you now have an extra deck monster, you can summon Ecclesia to search Maximus. From this point on, you're locked out of the extra deck, but it doesn't matter. Tribute everything except Baron for Plasma. If you had to summon Maximus first, just make sure you use his effects before tributing him. Maximus summons itself and then sends a Herald and a Titaniclad, which will rip 2 from your opponent's extra deck. Herald searches Relic, which you can now summon with Calamity by sending yet another Herald. You can chain block the Herald search too by using Relic's effect. She can target Plasma and Baron to boost your Plasma up to 3000 attack. At 4900 attack, your opponent will basically need removal in non-monster form to get rid of it. And if they do have that, hopefully Baron will be enough to protect it. Since Herald searched Macabre, and we discarded White Knight earlier, we can summon her from the graveyard by banishing 2 Heralds. That will let us rip something from our opponent's extra deck. Set Gabu, and then in our end phase we could search a Fleur-de-Lis if we're worried about Plasma being defeated, but otherwise searching Ecclesia for backup plays is also a good idea. This time we have all of the extra deck ripping from the last replay live, but backed up with Baron's Omni-Negate and Plasma's Floodgate preventing monsters from having effects on the field, with a trap set as an extra monster negate in case everything goes wrong. So that's pretty much the end board you'll be going for with this deck. It's a long combo, so I won't be going over every possible variant, but it definitely has room for flexibility or improvisation. Right now I'm just showing you a version that can be done if you start with the Armin in your hand, since you can still do full combo without emergency teleport. In the end though, you didn't actually need the Maximus I gave myself, so starting with the Armin really isn't a problem at all. After all, that last replay didn't actually use your normal summon. After that, I'll just be showing you some actual test hands that you can perform with this deck. It would get a bit repetitive for me to narrate everything, but since you know the main combo line now, it should be easy enough to follow along. I'll put animations to fast so that you're not here all day either. Anyway, I hope you enjoy them. So that was the deck. Will you try this version of Dogmatika, or are you sticking to a Shaddoll Invoked build? Tell me in the comments below, and while you're down there, don't forget to like and subscribe. Special thanks to my tier 2 patrons Jason Moa and Violet Rain. The link to that is in the description. Thanks for watching!